And I want to say this because there has been a lot of reading in between the lines. It's strange to me. I think I'm a very direct person and I say what I mean. And I do not want people to mistake what's happening right now or to wrongly assume my intentions here. So allow me to be very explicit, okay? I want war with all of you, okay? All of you.
Let's get into it. What's going on, guys? Candace Owens drops that fire episode. There's going to be another one coming out very soon. And Candace says she wants war. And Turning Point said, bet, let's do it. So Candace actually responded to all of the videos like mine and Valhalla VFT, Ian Carroll, so many people who are covering Jimmy Dore, so many people who are covering Mikey McCoy's reaction when Charlie got hit. The way he casually, within less than a second, turned around, walked off, just kind of beelined it through the parking lot while Charlie was getting picked up and put into an SUV. He was just walking off, making calls. Everybody thought it was very weird. Then Robert McCoy comes, and he makes it much worse. He says, I was the first person my son called. My son was covered in blood. It turns out he wasn't the first person that Mikey called. It was Erica. And also he wasn't covered in blood. So this pastor, his father, is just seemingly making things up. Doesn't make much sense. Candace covers all of this. Turning Point actually responds, and they're actually pissed about anybody, including Candace, questioning what happened with Mikey and his reaction. So I'm going to get into that. I'm going to be playing Candace's response first. Then I'm going to go over to what the boys at Turning Point had to say via the Charlie Kirk show. So I'm going to be interrupting just throughout the whole thing, but buckle up because Candace wanted war, and she might actually get it.
Expression had his wits about him, and JFK had a plan. Like in the event that he had been horrifically assassinated in front of the world, JFK maybe had a succession plan. Now, if these terms I'm using here sound familiar to you, it's because they should sound familiar. It's the exact terminology that was utilized by Pastor Rob McCoy just 4 days after Charlie was murdered. In front of his congregation, he spoke about Charlie's succession plan that he was somehow privy to. I don't know why, but he knew 4 days later and announced to the world that Charlie indeed had a plan. Take a listen.
Everyone's worried about the leadership of TPUSA. Don't. He was wise enough at 31 to put together a plan for succession. It's very clear what they decided, and they're implementing it now.
Amazing. I mean, amazing. So on September 14th, we were made aware of this succession plan, and I find that to be fascinating. The people who didn't even know Charlie all around the world seem to be fighting harder for him, fighting harder for truth. And it is, in fact, thanks to people on the internet like Sam Parker, James Lee, Ian Carroll, Zeb Boykin, many others, that a video from September 10th has gone pretty viral, okay? So let's take a look at this. It's a video of course, Pastor Rob McCoy's son. His name is Mike McCoy. And you're going to see what he does, not in the seconds following Charlie getting shot, but in less than 1 second after Charlie gets shot. These are not seconds, less than 1 second. You're going to watch what Michael McCoy does. First, let's hear his daddy's version of the events. Take it away, Pastor McCoy.
As a father, I want to protect my son. And I thought, I got a plan for you, son. He said, Dad, that's not Charlie's plan. And you know what? I'm looking at my son who's 24 years old. Justin's the CFO, chief financial officer, and Mikey's the chief of staff. And I'm watching, the minute Charlie was shot, he called me, says, Dad, Charlie's been shot in the neck. Please call every pastor and pray. I said, okay, son. He has wits about him. He was just directing. He had blood all over him. And
two things I want you to remember here. You may have caught that, but he said, I was watching. And the minute Charlie got shot, he called, and Mikey McCoy says to his dad, Charlie's been shot, pray for him. He says the minute, maybe he's being a little hyperbolic. We're going to find out. I'd certainly like to find out. But he stops himself. He says, I was watching. Watching what exactly? What were you watching? I want to remember that. It's rubbing me the wrong way. And I'm going to tell you why that's rubbing me the wrong way in a little bit.
Honestly, I've had the opinion of being as charitable as possible when it comes to the whole Rob McCoy thing. But I touched on it in the video I did when I addressed this whole thing, when I broke down the 3 lies that he told, that his son was covered in blood, he was the first person that got called, and Frank Turret was also covered in blood while trying to give Charlie CPR. Those things just weren't true. I touched on it in the video where I said it's like Tim Walsh stuff. And that's what I think it is. I think he just made it up. I don't because his son didn't tell him that. Because why would he? Frank didn't tell him that. Because why would he? It's just things that he's just making up. And honestly, I don't think anyone at Turning Point said, hey, make sure to embellish this story. Hey, man, say people were covered in this and that. I don't think anybody did that. I think it's just him. I think he's just that type of guy. I talked about it before. When you're a pastor, you don't get questioned. He's in front of his congregation, so he's like, I'm just gonna say whatever I want. Who's gonna stand up right now while I'm talking and say something to me? No one is. No one is. It's a different atmosphere when you're at church. I don't stand up and do that to my pastor when he's talking. Never. Not once. I know, it's unbelievable. I talk so much. You'd think I would, but no, I don't do that. So I try to be nice. I want to be nice. You know what I mean? I want to be nice, but I think this guy just makes things up. Again, I don't think anybody at Turning Point told him to do it, because why would they? I think he's just that type of guy where he's just like, whatever. I can say what I want. I don't know how else to. You think Mikey was like, "Hey, Dad, I'm covered in blood right now." You think he said that? No, I don't think he said that. That'd be crazy. Who would lie that blatantly? Anyway, let's keep going.
But the bigger thing is that he says Mikey had blood all over him. Except Mikey did not have blood anywhere near him because Mikey was behind the tent when Charlie got shot. And Mikey, in less than a second, does something that I find to be quite strange. He puts his phone to his ear and he begins a conversation. So we're going to watch that clip in its entirety. Mark is going to bring it in. So we decided to slow this clip down, and we're going to watch this clip slow down so you can see that it is exactly 834 milliseconds from the time that you hear the shot. That is how long it takes for Mikey McCoy to put the phone to his ear. Now, why is that precise timing so important? Because there's no dialing. Mikey didn't have time to dial, okay? You can't dial and put your phone to an ear in 0.834 seconds. The next time that you're going to see Mikey McCoy, as we just showed you, is in just under 2.5 seconds on the other side of the tent.
Wow, I did not even catch that. She's so right. He did not have time to actually dial a number. Puts his phone to the ear immediately. He's talking to someone immediately. Oh, man. Oh, okay. I'm so glad she's doing this.
He's on a phone call. So we can track Mikey, but let's watch the clip again in milliseconds so you really grasp how quickly this transpires. So when this clip was brought, there we go, we're tracking that. Yeah, when the clip was brought to my attention, I obviously have a file. I've big folder of files of every angle, and I decided to track Mikey from every angle available to see, like, maybe we just missed it and he did at some point put that phone down, dial a number, speed dial, hold down one. I don't know. Maybe we missed it because that seems automatic, right? 0.834. That seems pretty quick. And no, he doesn't do that. We even have him in front of Charlie's car. When Charlie is brought to the car, the waiting car rather, he is still on the phone. And I can show you the clip of that. Take a look at this. Don't worry, we'll slow it down for you. See him in the background with the backpack. It's Mikey McCoy. Okay. So what are we to make of that? The only logical conclusion that I can come up with, and many others, because I've pressed, I said, play devil's advocate. I want you to advocate for Mikey McCoy. I want you to play lawyer, and you are representing your client, Mikey McCoy. What was he do? How did he do it this quickly? No one could win this game. The only logical conclusion that we come up with was that Mikey was already on a phone call at 12:23 p.m. By 12:23 p.m., he was already on a phone call. So I said, let's go back a little earlier in the footage and see if we can find when he actually maybe dials onto the phone. Maybe we can see him pick up the phone and begin a call before the shot takes off. And then after beginning that call, if we're following this logic, that would mean he puts his phone down until Charlie gets shot.
See, here's the problem with this. She's going to show it in a second. He's filming Charlie, like the whole time he's filming Charlie. And then right before it happens, he stops filming. So he puts his phone away, stops filming, and then gets back on the phone. And then here's also where this becomes weird. You know, Robert McCoy, I already made a video about this. He said that, you know, Mikey called him first. But then New York Times, CNN, a bunch of news outlets all verified that Erica was the first one to get called. So maybe it wasn't. Maybe there was a world leader who got notified first. One that's not American.
And we were able to find what we think could be that moment. And I can tell you that it is 1 minute and 45 seconds approximately before that shot goes off. And we can watch that here. You see Mikey's on his phone here, and you're going to see he pulls it up, and he starts to cover his ear again. Now, that could be unrelated. Again, we're taking a guess here. That's what made the most sense to us because we couldn't justify it in any other way. And I want to be clear, we're not here to make assumptions, okay? And we wouldn't have to make any assumptions if Turning Point USA could just tell the truth. They could just be open and they could be honest about everything. Okay, I obviously went out to both Mikey McCoy and Andrew Colvett for a statement, asked those two questions. Hey, who were you on the phone with? What's going on here? No response. Weird. Because if that was me and I saw clips going viral and people were drawing conclusions from that clip, thinking that I was already on the phone, thinking that my reaction was weird, I would instantly hit back. I'd say, here's my call log. You want to know who I was on the phone with? 911, obviously. I was freaking out. I called 911. I didn't know what I was doing. Here's my phone. Here's my whole call log for that day. But this is, I don't know. I guess we live in a world where that doesn't make sense. I would have issued a statement to dispel any rumors, but they have not. Here's what I want to say, and I honestly understand I'm preaching to the choir here. Everything about this is wrong. You know it, and I know it.
So that's actually really weird because she reached out to Andrew. She just said it. She reached out to McCoy as well. Neither of them responded, but then Andrew goes on this longer, like it's like a 9-minute clip of them addressing this whole thing. So why not just answer Candace? Like, what's the big deal there? I find it odd too because Candace admittedly said she was on the phone with Andrew. They cried together a little bit on the phone at when it first happened. So you think they'd be on somewhat good terms, but to just not respond and then respond in the podcast. I don't know. If I wanted to be charitable, I would just say, they just want to do it on their own platform. You could also say that they needed to kind of prepare. I mean, it's not out of the realm because Andrew has presented himself as a spokesperson. So as a spokesperson, you're not just going to, well, you actually should be able to just give raw responses right away, the best response possible. But maybe he can't do that. Maybe they need time to prepare. Seems like, and you'll see in the clip, he needs Blake beside him to kind of really drive home the, we're really angry at you people for making any type of assumptions whatsoever. You know, it all seems prepared, you know? And it doesn't fully make sense. It seems like every time they respond to something, it makes less sense, or it just gets more uncomfortable. Because in reality, let's be real, people are acting like, you know, people who are on the other side of this, you know, they're acting as if everybody just wants to turn on Turning Point. And that's the furthest thing from the truth. I bet everybody wanted the people at Turning Point to stand up, just like Charlie would have, to unite with Candace, get together, bring these platforms together, Candace's and theirs, and say, we're going to figure this thing out. We're going to figure this thing out. Maybe they don't want to break gag orders. You know, that's completely understandable. You don't want to get in any kind of legal trouble. But you think they would be like, no, let's make sense of this. But every time it's like these weird responses. They don't make much sense. Easily, like Eric Bowling, when he was on Patrick Bet David's podcast, easily debunked. Just odd things to make up. It's sad. Nobody wanted that. Everybody wants to be on Turning Point's side. Charlie was amazing. Turning Point's amazing. Everybody wants to see that company, that movement, just pick up steam and keep going and find someone else who's like Charlie, whether it be Candace, whether it be someone else, and keep on going and be bigger than ever. Everybody who's looking into this wants that for Turning Point. They have from the beginning. Nobody wants the company that Charlie died for, literally died for, to just go belly up. Nobody wants to see the people in there as anything other than virtuous, anything other than amazing. So it has this act like, oh, these people coming at us, these crazy people. It's like, no, you're just not. You're responding so oddly. There's people who don't know him who are crying. I was one of them. There's people who don't know him who are crying, who want answers, and you guys are like, well, I mean, now that these text messages are out, I can talk about this a little bit, and it's just weird, man. They just don't have the way that they're dealing with this whole thing is just like the way Mikey McCoy walked away when Charlie got hit. It's the same type of awkwardness where you're just like, what the hell was that? And it's like, you don't want to make any assumptions, but you're just like, what was that? What just happened? Why are you doing that? I don't know, man. Anyway, let's get into what Turning Point had to say. Let's play that right now. Let's go. Here's the response to Candace. Of course, they will not say her by name. She is Voldemort around those parts. You cannot speak her name. She's Candyman around those parts. She's like a skinwalker. You do not say the name more than 2 or 3 times, because then they will come. Anyway, let's go.
We got to do a little addressing of a video that went viral this weekend, and it's a video of Charlie's chief of staff. We made the decision that we wanted to address this head on because, you know, candidly, there's so much intrigue, and I'm gonna do a generous thing. The intrigue is because people care about Charlie. Okay, so that part I understand.
You're more generous than I'd be.
Yes, and that's fine. And I am going to give you the floor here now, Blake, because you were there and you actually interacted with Mikey. You were with Mikey. You left the scene and then connected with Mikey. So explain what the video is.
All right, I'm not going to
set the scene.
I'm not going to wallow in it at length, but people have. It's gone viral and people have asked us to address it, and we're going to do so briefly. The video, without going way into it, is by, I can't even remember the guy's name. Someone made a video that is attacking Mikey, Charlie's friend, Charlie's chief of staff, a guy all of us know, a guy who we've seen on the show here the last few weeks. They are attacking him, claiming, based on a few seconds of clips, that he allegedly has like a nonchalant or calm reaction to Charlie's murder. And I'm just going to be blunt about this. This is a extremely disgusting attack. And I can speak to that because I was there when it happened and I was next to Mikey when it happened. And what I can say is, I can't say every single thing that happened, but I want to talk about this specific narrow thing. That the shooting occurs. I am next to Mikey. Both of us hear a loud crack. We both turn. We both see Charlie, who has been shot. Both of us, I think at about the same time, realize that that means there is a shooter who is on the scene. And, you just hear the crack, so you don't know, did it come from far away? Did it come from close? Is there a mass shooter unfolding right now? So I and him both had the reaction of, let's get out of here before we're both shot. That is not us abandoning Charlie. Charlie had a security team. They all leapt immediately into action, and they got Charlie out of there, which...
Now, since this guy's being so confrontational, and I hear him say that's not abandoning Charlie, I'll say this. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So, there's that. Now, it could be understandable because it is a time where you are either going to revert to cowardice and self-preservation, like most people would, or you're going to run to your friend and make sure he's okay. I mean, even just the natural thing of my friend falling, I'd be like, oh, I'm not security, but I have to catch my friend. I have to. Like, he's falling. That's not he's falling on the ground right now, but security's supposed to be here to handle that. That's not my job, actually. What? That's not how you do that. Friendship? That's not how you do friendship. Just saying. Just saying. Since we're taking this confrontational tone, we can do that. We can do that all day. I'm covering Candace right now. It's confrontation all day. We can do that. But, honestly, it's a little odd. We both ran away as soon as the shot hit. That's not abandoning him. What is it then? What are you talking about? Look up the word. Your friend was there and you were there. And for all you know, somebody wanted to take more shots at your friend. I'm not saying jump in front of bullets or anything like that, but don't add, let's call it what it is. You did run off. You ran off. It's fine. I guess. I mean, it's going to be something you think about for a long time, but to just be like, oh, he had security there, so this is not us abandoning him. Nonsense. Anyway, let's keep going.
Which was what their job was to do. My job was not to get in the way and screw this up because, I had to be a hero. That was not my job.
Wow, he's actually... I said that as a joke. I said that as a joke. The whole it's not my job thing. And then he actually went to it. Wow. This is what I mean with Turning Point, man. Every time they speak on something, it's just it's like, what?
I remember even running past, both of us going past the SUV that we came in on, and me thinking, should I get in that car? And then thinking, no, that's a really stupid thing to do. And then I kept going. So I was not with Mikey, or I don't remember being with him. I think I was ahead of him as we left. And then we get out, and I run for, can't have been more than 15 or 20 seconds. And then I realized there hasn't been another shot, so the shooter has likely been detained or stopped or something, not in immediate danger. I pause, I look around me, and I see Mikey. And I see Mikey there. And I will never forget what I saw, because I've seen Mikey almost every day for the past 2 years. I know his personality very well. He's a very bubbly guy. He's a very happy guy almost all of the time. And I'll never forget what I saw, because it was clear in the moment that he was profoundly freaked out. What I'll always remember is the way his lip was quivering, which I'd never seen before. And you very rarely see from someone that he was freaking out. And then I think he literally said to me, I might be imagining this, but I think what he literally said was, he was looking around, and then he says, I need to call Erica. And then he takes his phone and he begins calling Erica.
He might be imagining this. I might be imagining this. Hey guys, just so you know, as I'm telling you this, I might be making this up completely. But just let Candace take over the show. Charlie Kirk show, just let Candace take over. She doesn't have these moments that you guys are displaying. Just let her take over. It's fine. She's going to talk about Philadelphia and divesting and no more aid. And it's fine. Don't worry. Let her. It'll be okay. There's other donors. Don't worry. Just let her take over because this is ridiculous. But I hear him. And I don't think he's making that up about the lip quivering. I don't think he's making that up. I think that's something that could definitely happen to someone who's never seen anything like that before. Let's keep going.
And I don't want to disclose how that call unfolded, but he did that. This, your mind extends all of this, but that is happening within a minute of all of this occurring. I remember he calls Erica. Around the same time, I pull out my phone and I call my mom just to say, Mom, there's been a shooting. You're going to see it on the news. I'm okay. Pray for me. I've got to go. And I remember that call. And around the time I put that phone away, and then he immediately calls his dad. He calls Rob McCoy. And he says, Dad, someone's shot Charlie. You need to call all of your pastor friends. Charlie was hit. We need everyone to pray right now. And that's what he told him. And I guess it's very disgusting for me as someone who witnessed this, who saw Mikey hugely distressed and then step up in the moment, because after that call was over, I saw Mikey get total mastery of himself, that he realized he had to step up in this situation. And from that point, he was like a general directing a battle where he was, grabbing people and saying, okay, we need to get to the hospital and we need to do these things. And you guys need to wait here. I need to get in here to get information so that I can get it to Erica. And when we learned he was dead, he came out and he told us, and then he says, now none of you can say anything that you've heard, because Erica is not going to hear about this from anyone except me.
Can I ask a question? I've just been thrown into this 10 minutes ago, but there's a suggestion online that Mikey, Charlie's chief of staff, one of the most sincere people you'd ever meet, brilliant, Christian, kind, everyone he ever met in his entire life, couldn't hurt a fly, was part of a conspiracy to murder Charlie. That's what's going on.
Yeah. It's vile. It's utterly vile.
Who would do this? What type of individual? Just to create content, do we think, or is there what's the ulterior?
What's the narrative that we're pushing right now? How are we demonizing these people? Can we? How are we going to demonize these people very quickly? Let me just say, Mikey was next to Jesus-like. He looks like Jesus. He smells like Jesus. I've seen him rise from the dead at least twice. Last time I had water, he was nice enough to turn it into wine. He's the nicest person in the world. He's actually nicer than my wife, and if I could have married him, I would have married him. The thing is, though, he said no. I was really torn up about it because he's a great guy. Best guy ever, actually. Is it that Mikey that you're talking about? It's just ridiculous, man. Well, hey, listen, you got to back up your boys, right? If that's your friend and you know him, you kind of have to do that kind of thing, and you should for your friends, right? It'd be surprising if he was like, "You mean that trash bag human being, Mikey?" I don't know. It would be crazy if he said that. You'd be like, "What's going on?" Andrew and Blake would be like, "What? Cut, please. Can we cut? Can the cameras? Where's the guy who took the camera footage from the day that happened to Charlie? Is he here? Can he take the footage, please? Take this footage as quick as possible." So, yeah, it's kind of expected, but I get it. They're trying to make it seem like anybody who's because what's really happening is they're positioning it like it's an attack, when in reality, people are. Listen, first off, Mikey's reaction is just it's weird. I was going to say wild. It's not even wild. It's just weird. It's very weird. So when people start asking questions, you instantly can move towards, are they saying that he did this and this? People aren't really saying that. They're just saying, look at how weird this person reacted, right? And there are some people who are taking the attack position. There are, of course, but not everybody is. Some people, most of the people making these videos are just asking, why would somebody react like that? And then also asking the question of, why would his father say the things that he was saying? That's it. But to position it like it's truly vile. And because here's what they're doing. They're trying to position it as anyone who participates in any thought process like this is a vile human being. That's what they're trying to do. Anyway, let's keep going.
Don't know. I think a lot of this mindset just sort of fuels itself. It's sort of addictive in the same way a lot of social media stuff is addictive, or in the way like honestly something like pornography is addictive or something. Like they get really they almost get a high off of like the idea of like that they're doing something that's daring or out there.
Yeah, and I want to make one other point though. And this is actually to your point. You saw Mikey do heroic things that day. I saw Mikey do heroic things. I was not on.
I can't ignore that comment about it being like, what do they say online when you're talking about that? Corn? Like it being corn? That's what? What are you saying? You see what I mean by every time? What are you saying? Get more scripted. Do it. If that's what you got to do, get scripted. Have somebody make the scripts. I don't know. Get teleprompters. Something. Cuz what is he talking about? Is that how you guys are feeling? Hey, who out there? Let's be serious right now. Who out there feels like they're watching corn when you turn on one of my videos and I talk about this stuff? Hey. Let me know who it is in the comment section, because I'm going to block you. I'm going to block you, and you're not going to be able to watch these videos anymore. I'm going to tell every creator I know to do the same, okay? You let me know who is feeling that way. Please. Is that what Ian Carroll's doing over on his channel? Is he is he sitting there like, oh man, I'm gonna pull up this video right now, boys. Ooh, get ready for this one. Is that what's going on over there? That's not what's going on over here. I don't know, man. Just ridiculous. Anyway, let's keep going.
On site, but I immediately flew to Utah. We got a plane. I mean, it's not something that I'm used to, but it was like my wife went with me. We went straight over. I knew I needed to be with Erica and the team immediately just because, I just knew. But that moment when I got the news, I was so shell-shocked. I was not even there, but I was immediately traumatized. My brain fries like an egg. I can't see straight. I can't think straight. All I knew is that, like, what's happening? My wife came in. She, like, hugged me. We started crying together. And I can't even remember those moments very clearly. I wasn't even there. Mikey was two
Mikey's
steps
talked
away.
about that.
And I asked him, I was like, do you even remember the moments after? He's like, I can't even really remember. I know I called Erica. I know I called my wife. I know I called my dad. I can't even really remember the steps I took. I can't. But here's the last thing I want to make a point of. And Charlie had given me similar instructions along the years. He said, if anything ever happens to me, you call Erica.
Yeah,
that's
the other
thing. And he drilled that into Mikey's brain so that when this moment of trauma happened, that he turned around and he knew he had to do it. And by the way, last thing, because this is part of the video allegations here.
Hold on a second. So it was drilled into his brain. So when it happened, he knew he had to do it. That is not what Blake was saying. Blake was saying he walked away. He was shocked. And then he was like, oh, I have to call Erica. But also Blake was saying he doesn't even remember if that's actually what happened. And then also the wife and the father were called as well. So again, don't want to feel like I'm nitpicking there, but it's just a little different in the same, clip.
Is that they think they're alleging that he was on the phone immediately. He was not. He was taking social videos, which he would send to our group chat, which we would then put on Charlie's social while the event was happening, so you could see like the crowd come in or his interactions. And we were only 2 questions into this event, so he was still getting it out to all the chats he needed to do, which he did at every event. He turns around, and it was so blaringly loud, I'm told. You would know this better than I, but this is what I'm told. It was so blaringly loud, and he was so shell-shocked. He put his fingers in his ear, but his phone was still in his hand. He walks away, and he's
and not even walk. I want to, because people
fair
are
enough.
talking about that. The way it was is we had a cordoned off area with grates, so you had controlled access. All the people, when this happens, they all get the idea we should leave before we are shot, and so there's a little narrow gap that I think people. It's not really walking; it's that everyone has to slow up to get through this little narrow choke point to get out of the area. And
anyways, well, the point is he walks briskly. I don't even care if he's walking, running, whatever, because again, the most traumatic thing you could imagine had just happened to him. My brain fried. I cannot imagine what was going through your guys' head being on the scene and seeing it and knowing, again, the security guys are jumping in. He turns and like I'm telling you, Mikey that day turned into a general on a field, marshaling the troops.
Man of Steel, general on the field. Just, man. Anyway, to say that, and I get that, it was so loud, but to say the shot goes off, bang, and then you cover your ears and you start walking, that doesn't really make sense. Again, I said, nobody wants to look at these guys like these guys are the bad guys. But that doesn't fully make sense. Just because if something pops off supersonic speed, loud, it's very loud. But then to cover your ears and keep walking with your ears covered, the crowd was already roaring when Charlie walked up. They were already going nuts when Charlie was throwing the hats and Mikey was right there filming. He didn't have to cover his ears then. So I get it that the shot was very loud and that might make you, but it didn't even make him do that. It didn't even make him go like this. Nothing. If my wife banged on the door right now, just a little bit, I'd be like, oh, hold on a second. It didn't make him do anything like that. So it's just weird. And then you continue to cover your ears, although the loud sound is now done. And then on top of that, it's just, and then you walk away. It's just weird. It's all weird. And we know it's weird. We know it's weird. What does Candace say? You know, but you don't. You know. You don't know, but you know. Man, it's that kind of weird thing. And when I say that, I mean, we know that it's weird. Like, this is just odd.
But like, for a second there, obviously he didn't know what to do. And then he clicked into gear eventually.
He did.
It was amazing.
Mikey was a heroic figure on that day. And I really want anyone who finds like these narratives attacking him to be remotely credible to really, really stop and think about what you are doing. Because what you are doing is bad and it is gross and it is a choice. And it's a choice you shouldn't make.
There you go. That's the narrative. It's a choice you shouldn't make. Anybody who is questioning anything, it is bad, it is gross, and it is something that you shouldn't do. So, you've heard Candace, you've heard Turning Point. That is their response to everything Candace had to say. That is their response to Ian Carroll. That is their response to Valhalla. That is their response to me. That is their response to Jimmy Dore. But mainly Candace. I mean, as soon as Candace comes back, they're like, okay, let's respond now. The rest of us, they were like, whatever. Candace came back and they were like, okay, we're going to do a podcast, okay? Anyway, guys, just wanted to bring that to you, and we'll have more very, very soon. I'm out of here.